and then trips over somebody's foot. Well, there we go. Another joke to start the day. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Digital Download. It's lovely to have everybody here. It's lovely to have the audience here. Today, we're going to talk about community and how important community is in what you do, particularly in your online life, but also in your offline life. Because often we feel that there's a huge difference between community and audience, but often that isn't spotted potentially by organizations. So before we get into the meat of the discussion, debate, argument today, let's all introduce ourselves. So first of all, Jordan.
Hello everyone, I'm Jordan Abbott, B2B Social Influence and Interaction Advisor at Supero, and as always, proud DLA Ignite partner.
Alex.
Good afternoon all. Alex Abbott, founder of Supero and proud DLA Ignite partner. I noticed I'm actually in the Digital Download.
You're in the logo.
Yeah. Keep dodging it. Otherwise, I'll bounce you in and out and keep knocking your head on it. Jensen.
Hi all, Jensen Abbott from Supero, also a proud and happy DLA partner.
Tim.
Hello everybody, I'm Tim Hughes. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. Welcome.
Lenwood.
Hi, I'm Lenwood Ross. I'm the founder and CEO of Accelerate. We help organizations build high-performing teams.
Will.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, William Shorten, an associate consultant with DLA Ignite and also a learning consultant with William Shorten Learning Solutions.
And again, saving the best to last, Tracy.
I'm always last because it's so early where I am. So I'm like, I'm gonna just squeak in here last. Tracy Borison. Good morning, everybody on the North American side. I am the founder of TLB Coaching and Events, and we're all about optimizing your sales and marketing processes through your people. And I too am I don't want to use proud. We always use proud. We had this conversation one episode. I am you know what? Honestly, I'm kind of a grumpy partner today, mostly because we've had our third day in a row of snow, and it's supposed to be spring.
Wow!
Oh dear.
WTF?
Yeah, I'll say.
I have all the fake lights on me today because it's snowing outside. That doesn't mean I don't love being a DLA Ignite partner. It just means I'm grumpy today.
Accelerate is a DLA Ignite partner also. I've been forgetting that the last couple of
I think you said that, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
Oh dear. Anyway, and I'm Adam. I'm Tim's business partner and co-founder of DLA Ignite, and it's delighted to have everybody here today and everybody in the audience as well. So, community. Who would like to kick this off? Because this is a big subject, isn't it? And one of my pet peeves is that organizations, and it tends to be organizations rather than individuals, organizations, they use the word community in the same way they use customer focused. It's a disposable line that means nothing 9/10 of the time. They have no interest in building a community in most cases. What they have an interest in doing is building an audience that they can then sell to. We're going to create a community and then we're going to monetize the community. The mere fact you're monetizing the community means you're not trying to create a community, you're trying to create an audience. Sorry, up on my soapbox already, and it's only 4 minutes past.
Everybody's grumpy today. Yes.
Yes, it's the grumpy session, isn't it?
So who would look at that?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Andrew. So who would like to kick this off?
Well, I can ask a question because
hold on a second. This is a really interesting narrative we've got coming in from Rennis. The boomers wasting time on LinkedIn thinking this matters to anyone other than themselves. Well, you don't have to stay if you don't want to. No one's holding a gun to your head.
To be fair, what about the Gen Xers and
I'm not
the
a baby
millennials
boomer.
that
I'm
are
a
here
Gen X.
wasting time on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I'm Gen X.
Indeed.
Let's be
I
fair.
think he's wasting more time on LinkedIn telling people that they're wasting time on LinkedIn.
Yes, and that's a perfect example of how not to build a sense of community. So that might be a good starting point for one of these threads of conversation.
Yes,
so-
I'm not to.
Away you go, somebody. Tracy, go on, you start.
I think Alex said he had a question.
Oh, okay.
Do you have a
Well,
question?
it was a question for the panelists more than anything, and audience, please feel free to throw comments in. But what do we think are the key attributes to building a great community?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pop that back up on the screen.
Uh,
I will try to do something about that. If you guys talk amongst yourselves for a second.
Yeah,
Sure,
if you click on the top right.
I think there's something around authenticity, Alex, that you've got to you've got to be turning up, and you, as Adam said at the start, something if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, or it's perceived to be the wrong reasons, then people will soon get wind of it, and actually that will destroy your community or sense of community faster than anything else. So if it's inauthentic, if it's not being done for the right thing, then I think you're not going to stand a chance of building something.
Yeah,
I think that's an important point, even from the beginning of community, right? Is what is the intention of creating the community? Is your intention to just create a group of people you can sell to? That's what Adam was talking about in terms of audience, right? And as far as I'm concerned, as long as there have been marketers, that's what we have been talking about as an audience. But a community has a different level of connection, right? That's how I see it, is that we're connecting for a reason. We're connecting over something. We either believe in the same thing, or we're trying to accomplish the same thing, or there's some kind of what is the why? What is the why behind your community? And is it just about you making money?
Yeah. I mean, I think that one of the things that's really interesting is that I think this is an organizational problem rather than an individual problem. So we're all happy to join communities. Some of those are communities around how best to develop your personal brand. Some of those are communities around how best to don't know what happened there. Sorry, Tim.
I lost the.
Some of those are around us as individuals. We're quite happy to join communities around personal brand, around business, around our hobbies and pastimes, guitars or cars or whatever those things might be. But when we get into the corporate world, actually that's forgotten, isn't it? What we don't do is we don't think about how we can move closer to people, how we can forge proper relationships. What we try to do is forge commercial relationships with somebody. And, it's like you go to, and I have the greatest admiration for this chap, but you go to a Tony Robbins one-day taster seminar and you love everything that he says from the stage. You absolutely love it. And he's got you eating out of the palm of his hand. And then he says, so if you'd like to come on my 2-day retreat, it's $1,500, and only if you buy it today in the next 20 minutes. And you feel betrayed. You feel, I certainly do. I feel very sullied by that sort of behavior, because that's not what I've gone for. I've not gone to buy, I've gone to experience that kind of community. And I think most organizations get this wrong, don't they?
Yeah. There's so much pressure though for businesses and the desire to grow, that and the initial idea of creating a community starts with the right intention, but can often quickly lose sight of why it was originally created, because of the commercial pressure, the financial pressure.
Well, and can I speak to that? Because this happened to me when I started my Your Business Peeps community. And so we started it as a place where people could practice expressing their personal brand online, so that you could practice those types of skills. And then you start to get members. And then the members start to ask for things, right? So we had people who are like, well, could we do focus bubbles? Because we love the energy here. So let's do a focus bubble. And then we're like, yeah, we can do that. We can do that. We can do that. And pretty soon we're like, well, we can do all of those things, but that's actually not what we're here to do, right? The intention of this community is to practice showing up with your personal brand leaning way. That means you have to show up. It's not like a huge repository of recordings. It's about like showing up and doing things, right? And so we had to kind of revise and peel back a whole bunch of things to say like, okay, like this is what you're here to, this is what we're here to do. This is what you're here to do. And let's do that and not get overly distracted by a million things we could do.
It's good advice.
Yeah.
So, so Robert made a comment just earlier on about what works in the community and what doesn't. He talked about different platforms. One of the things, I know you run a community on LinkedIn, Tracy, but in many cases, lots of people have tried to run communities and it's not worked. So what do you think in your community? Why does that work, and why have other communities failed?
I think it's what did I call this? I called this the luck protocol in one of my articles, and it's the same. The reason the communities fail is the same reason why we think we're more connected in a workplace, right? If we put all the people in one place, then they'll be connected. But that's not a thing. And this is like probably in my experience, the number one reason why LinkedIn groups fail is that we're like, we have an idea, we'll put everyone in the same place, but then we won't do anything. We'll just all be together, right? And like, there has to be an ignition point, and there has to be somebody who's like continuing to work it, right? We're all here to do this. Are we showing up to do this? Poke, 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 poke. And there will always be, remember that old school Facebook poke where you could like poke people? That's what you need in a community. Poke, so in my community, I keep track of when people join the community. And to be fair, I don't have like a 5,000 people, 10,000 people community. I have like 120 people in my community. And it's intentionally curated that way. I pay attention to when people join, and I give them a like anniversary month, and I track after 90 days, has that person done anything? Have they showed up in a networking event? Have they posted anything? Have they started a conversation? Because this is what we're supposed to be practicing here. And then I if people are active, I let them be active. If people are inactive, I ask them if this is still a priority for you. And if this isn't a priority for you, that's cool, right? But like, let's separate for now, and you can always come back. Like, you're always welcome to come back, but this community is for people who are actively working on this right now. Yeah. And it's been really amazing because a lot of people are like, yeah, you know what? It's not a priority for me. I appreciate how well you curate this community. Hopefully I'll come back. And I'm like, and great. And if you don't, and that's fine. And we have events for people who are not members of the community and all of these things. But I think you need to have, if you have an intention for what your community is for, you need to have somebody who's like making sure that happens every day.
Yeah, that's I love the way you describe that, Tracy, and what you're doing, because what it's pointing to is what I think community is about, which is this process of increasing engagement, right? And getting people to move from where they're just talking, right, conversation, which is sort of the lowest level of engagement, to participating, right? And that's what communicate, when you get to a higher level of engagement, which community I would say is the next level of engagement, you want people to be participating because that is going to build the experience that they're looking for. So I love that. You talk about that shared. Is
that xylophone or something for
priority? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's interesting because this is something that Rob was talking about in his comments as well. And I don't think this is necessarily like a LinkedIn WhatsApp thing, but I do think that generally people create a WhatsApp group because they already know the people, and people can contribute to each other, right? I think that's another important piece of community, is that we contribute to each other. And when you look at the boom of Facebook groups, for example, Facebook groups were created so that one person could talk at a whole bunch of people. That's what they're created for. And I had a Facebook group for not quite a year, and I shut it down and created my Mighty Networks community, which is outside of all social media platforms, because people were just coming and sitting there and waiting to be fed information. I'm like, that's not a community.
That's the point, isn't it?
That's an audience.
The point is that you only get out what you put into any of these groups. And, you know, it's like when you go to a party and you sit in the corner nursing a drink and don't talk to anybody, it's not a very good party for you. When you go and you chat to people, whether or not the chat demonstrates that we're completely aligned on a topic, or whether we're poles apart on a topic and we have an interesting debate for it, as long as it remains civil and you're having a conversation with somebody and sharing your ideas, to have those ideas either validated or applauded, or actually, I think you've completely misunderstood this, Tracy. I think actually this is the way it happened. Actually, that's fine. You know, that's surely the purpose of a community. And I think what's really interesting is, as you said, you know, people often join, and I see this time and again on LinkedIn groups. People join and then they fold their arms and go, "Okay, well, entertain me." And it's, yeah, you know,
Well,
It is, yeah.
I
it doesn't
love
work
that.
that way.
What you know, that focus that Tracy is putting on curation, because actually what's happening is the community is better smaller with everyone participating than larger with just a few people participating and other people kind of just sitting there, right? You're actually losing effectiveness of the network, and it's all about the network. Right?
Well, there is an interesting piece here though too, because Adam had said that if you're sitting in the corner nursing a drink, it doesn't feel like a fun party for you. Maybe for you, Adam. For me, yes, like I like to be in with the crowd, but it's really interesting. So, fun personal fact about me: my husband and I met on eHarmony, and you fill in these like 5 questions, and one of the things I was specifically looking for was that. Like, so my ex was the guy who would sit in the corner and get all mad because I was having fun at the party and he wasn't having fun at the party. And so, like, I was like, I don't want to be with another person like that. And one of Carter's responses was like, I kind of like to just sit back and observe. And I was like, red flag. But what I didn't realize about that is that there's people who enjoy that. There's people who enjoy sitting back and they're not judging the people. They're not like that's kind of where they find their comfort zone. And it's the same with communities. So there are people who want to be the conversation starters, who want to create discussion, and there's people who want to experience it. And so it's interesting just to explore like what is someone's desired experience from the community, and are they getting that? Because they might get that just by hanging back. Now, obviously the community doesn't exist if everybody's doing that, but there's like roles. Yeah, I just had someone.
But if you join a community and you don't actively participate in the community, you're not a member of the community. You're a member of the audience, aren't you? Because you're being presented to, and I think that's one of the key things, isn't it? You know, the people in the chat on here are people that I feel I know, whether I know them or not. I feel I know these people because they regularly attend the different shows that we have. We get a sense of their viewpoint. Not always do I necessarily agree with everything that everybody says, but actually I'm pleased to have that input into the dialogue. Well, clearly we have an exception earlier today, but you know, for the most part, I'm pleased to have that input into the dialogue, because actually that's part of what enriches the group. And I think that you know, when somebody says, like this, you know, Andrew said communities fail because a thread of what they were has changed over time and become the opposite of what it was in the beginning. Okay, I'd never even thought of that. That's a perfectly valid viewpoint.
It's one of the wonders of this format where you get comments like that and you go, no, I never thought about that.
Yeah, fine line between community and forum. A group of a certain industry is a forum and a community has a wider spectrum. Maybe, or maybe they're the same thing in some ways.
Mm.
But it is that contributory thing, isn't it? It's a party where everybody's talking, and we've seen it already in the comments here, where some of the people have commented referencing and tagging other people that have previously commented. So it's like there's a huddle of people going on over there having a conversation, and another huddle of people going. And I think that's the wonder of this, isn't it? It's about getting to meet people and getting to know people and getting to collaborate, whether that has a commercial output or not.
Yeah, my kind of, I was just looking up the definition of community, and it's a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common, or the condition of sharing or having certain attitudes and interests in common. So I've tried creating a couple of communities, and the more this discussion goes on, I was thinking, well, actually, that I want them to be a community. I want people to interact and share, and there be sort of this organic feel of others sort of contributing, not just me. But it, is it just a group at the moment? Is it just a group where I'm regularly sharing what I think is to be insight related to the original topic, but currently the audience is just expecting to be fed, and until that moment when others start participating, whether it's a few months or even years down the road, does it only at that point become a community? And for now, it remains a group.
I'm minded as you talk, Alex, about that video, which I'm sure that we've all seen on YouTube, about Crazy Dancing Man. And, I think they made a TED talk out of the first follower. And I think it is that part of, how can you bring that first follower along, who's essentially going to kind of amplify the message that you put out, and to, demonstrate that this kind of behavior is okay. And that then starts to break the ice between, people who are just on the outside observing and just trying to get a feel of, is this a community that I want to belong to? And am I really going to invest my time and attention because I think it's worth me doing that? Or is it something I'm going to head off? And again, earlier, as Tracy was talking, I very much had the metaphor of, I think, especially at the early stages of kind of being a gardener, that you've got to kind of nurture this over time in order to kind of feed and water whatever you're trying to develop, and then see it grow. And I guess I'm interested, for those of you who set up communities, is this something then you put in your mind to have a certain time period where, I'm going to give it a go, and if I don't get any traction, then there's a point where or is it just, this is a kind of labor of love, and I'm really just prepared to keep doing this because I feel I'm getting something out of it, even if there's not necessarily a great following or massive following at this moment in time.
Yeah, I love the idea.
I think we need to reference some of the questions in the comments. So Paula asked this. It's to stimulate debate rather than actually asking the question, I think. Do we need to clarify more what we mean?
Yes.
Do you? Because I don't think we do. I think that whether or not it's an online network like LinkedIn, or it's a face-to-face network, as we become more sophisticated users of these tools, then naturally the two merge.
I think that you're a sophisticated user of the tool, but I don't think everybody else is.
No, but I think
and the reason
transitioning that way, aren't we?
Yeah, but the reason why we say at the beginning, please put your comments in is a reminder to give people permission to do that. And I think you and I have run sessions where we've said, now go out to LinkedIn and put a comment on people. You can see how frightening they are, and I think we have to keep. I'm not sure that people know, because they've been in situations in communities where they've been shouted at. Sometimes that becomes the behaviour that they expect, And I think that you have to, Alex's point, it becomes a community when other people take control.
Mm.
And actually, your job in the community is to fire yourself. You shouldn't be putting out articles. Other people should actually be in control of it. But you've got to give people permission.
I love that. I would like to address the issue of, this idea of network, and say that, networks have existed since there were two people, right? And that the network is actually the people. These tools are what connect us. So the networks were there. They were just invisible, right? Family networks, they're there. We have conversations, all that stuff's there. These digital tools connect us. They enable us to do things in those networks and help us to see. It makes the network visible. So that's what
Well, and I just want to, I want to broaden the concept of community, right? Because this isn't, yes, it can be a digital community, but it could also be an office community. It could be your neighborhood. It could be literally, it could be anywhere. A group of people can be a community. It doesn't mean they're by default a community, but it's the same as moving into a new neighborhood and then never talking to any of your neighbors. Well, you're not showing up to create community. So it's not going to be a community for you. Yeah. And it could be a community for other people who are interacting with each other, and you are left out because you're not participating. There's a participatory requirement in order for anything to feel like a community.
Is there? Because that was the next question from Paul.
Participation is, and that's the point that that Tim was making, that participation is a critical element of being in the community. And so, what Tracy described is going to the person and talking to them about their level of engagement. It's are you going to be a part of what we're doing here, or are you not going to be a part of what we're doing here?
But I think it depends on where you're coming from. So this comment from Paula, can some just be observers? It's worth referencing that Paula runs a company called The Trauma Shop, where she helps people that have undergone trauma, sexual misconduct, that kind of thing. So clearly, people that are coming from that place probably do want, certainly for some time at the beginning, to be an observer, to see what's going on, to know that it's a safe space. For somebody like me or you, who's coming to this environment from a business perspective to share expertise or to learn stuff, actually we're pretty robust about these things. And if somebody jumps in and says things that are inappropriate, you just go, well, I'll just block them, or just ignore them. And actually for some people, so I think that there are shades of this, aren't there? For some people, this is a huge risk. And for some people, certainly in the early days, like Tim said about go and leave a comment on somebody's post, for some people, there's a huge perceived risk, but it isn't really a risk, and they know it isn't really a risk, so they can overcome it quite easily.
I guess what I'm trying to suggest is that it's a process, but there are certain boundaries, and when you are observing the community and contemplating how you will become a part of it, or whether you will become a part of it, you're not yet part of the community because you're participating. Once you move from not participating, which is outside the boundary, to participating, now you're becoming part of the community.
And I think, and there's different levels of participation, right?
Yeah.
Participation for one person might be to like someone else's post the first time, right? That's step 1, and then step 2 might be a comment, and then step 3, 4, or 5 might be posting your own article, right? And so I think, to address Paula's question too about, do we always have to show up? I think at the beginning, yes. If you're creating a community, like in William's garden example, like it has to be tended. It has to be tended by somebody who is responsible for the intention. And there's an important piece of you feeling like you are part of it, right? Not like you're up here and creating it for other people, but that you are also a part of it. That was something I experienced as well. As at one point I'm like, wow, I'm curating all this stuff for all of these people, but like, what about me? What do I get out of this? And now, like, I've run my community for 2 years, and I'm at the point where, like, if I'm sick or my son is sick and I can't show up for a thing, other members of the community just step up to run it. And that's the point. And it's always been the point for me, is that this isn't about me. This is about us practicing our digital interaction skills. So, like, let's all do that.
I mean, I'd like to just try to frame community as being actually about something else. It's about engagement. And so what we're looking at is the levels of interaction, what the person is doing as they're, considering whether to become part of the community or not, as a measure of how engaged they are in what's going on. So, there's a big problem in the world of business about engagement, and organizations trying to figure out how to get their people more engaged. Well, building a community is a way of increasing that level of engagement. If you're building the community, let's say you're doing it for organizational purposes, and people are not participating in the community that you're building, you have an understanding about their level of engagement.
Well, is that right? Is that right? So this is like, I'm looking for a new wife. Therefore, lock me in a room with any woman, and eventually we will form a relationship and fall in love. Actually, if you build,
that's Stockholm syndrome, I think, Adam.
No. But my point is, if you build an online place for these people to meet and they're not engaging, that's either because they're not engaged by the business, or it's because you haven't built the right thing within the right parameters, and they don't feel that they have any ownership of it.
Yeah. I think that's
isn't it?
That's the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that what ideally is, for business purposes, ideally what we want to have happen is not that we build the community, but that the community build itself. That the employees are engaged, they're increasing their level of engagement, and we are giving them opportunities to do that. So that's, I'm just sort of trying to reframe it as, it's not, the community is a tool for engagement. And what we'd like to see happen is our employees or the individual contributors participating, and we want them to make it. I mean, that's the ideal situation.
But there's an important thing here about, like, we can create a space for people to engage, and at some point people still need to choose to engage. Yeah. Right? Like, and this is why I do my 90-day follow-ups, because, like, literally I want you to choose this. I want you to pick this. And if you don't pick it, I'm not offended, right? But, like, choose it and do it, or don't, or choose not to and don't do it, but, like, make a choice. And I feel like from an individual perspective, a lot of times we're just waiting to be served community, right? Like, oh, I'll join this community, and then just by clicking the join button, I'll feel like a member. You won't. Right? You have to do something. You have to do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think to link to some of the points already discussed, I mean, part of the real test is, if you take one of the original parts out, is that community then going to kind of be sustainable? And not to embarrass him too much, but I mean, Adam, for example, will later on, for those who are still interested, run
That's nobody.
his that album live stream, which is a community now, originally set up, as we all know, with him and Eric. Eric's moved on and is doing some other things. So what's happened? Actually, other members of that community have stepped up. One of them being Andrew, who's in the chat here, and there's that transition that's been made, and you've then been able to evolve that community and the offering, because in fact, rather than just having the two set people doing it, there's a kind of change of different people coming in. So I think that's a really nice example to show how communities, if they are nurtured and tended in the right way, can evolve and readapt or reorganize themselves in different ways.
There's a thing that's connecting them. It's the shared values, the shared purpose. That is what is binding and aligning that network.
Yeah.
So we had a specific question from Michael earlier in the stream. Any advice on how to help community member relations if one member feels uncomfortable with another? Now, that I think that's quite a tricky one, because
it is, yes.
You create guidelines, potentially you have to create guidelines, but we all know that guidelines are actually not particularly good at stopping people behaving a certain way, because you can temper your behavior to be within the guidelines legally, but still massively inappropriate or making people feel uncomfortable. So I guess what would the advice from the team be on this? How can we mitigate that? How can we deal with that problem? And if somebody is somebody that's a very abrasive character within the community, then it's quite easy just to remove them. But if they're both valuable members of the community who simply don't get along, how do we deal with that?
This is like a psychological safety issue. Sorry, my bad. Go ahead.
Well,
Tracy.
and yeah, it is. So it's interesting because I've had both of those scenarios in my community. One of them, we had to remove the member. And in the other one, so it was really interesting. One, we have a member who's very curious, right? And I know her quite well. She is like very curious, but curious to the point of like, I will literally push your boundaries to what you're willing to give me for free. And we have a lot of coaches and things in the community. And so one of our other members had said, I've been running this workshop. This person has come like quite a few times. She's asking me questions about like the research behind it. And I'm concerned that she's trying to take it and do something else with it. And I'm happy to run this workshop again. And I would like her not to be allowed to attend. And I can understand that. And I know the personality of this person, so I can see how that could push the boundaries. But this is also one of the important notes is I know the personalities of both of those people, right? So I know that this person isn't being malicious, but that is how they are. I know this person is learning to set their boundaries, so I can moderate that relationship because I know what's going on with both parties. This is when you got to a place where your community is so huge that you don't know the people, you don't know their intentions, you can't do that as a community facilitator. And so in this scenario, I spoke to one person like, hey, we're trying to make sure that all the new members can get in on these things. And you've taken this a few times, so can you step back on this one? And she was like, oh yeah, no problem, right? And then the other one felt like their boundaries were maintained. I recommended, like, I would recommend a conversation between the two of you to sort this out. Like, I am a mom, but I'm not your mom, right? And I'm not momming the community, but I am moderating the community. So I think it's important I think that is helpful, right? And in a situation where you don't know the members and you're trying to moderate, it's a lot more difficult because you don't want to take sides, but you don't know enough to make a good decision about like what is a good next step here. And that's why I'm a proponent of smaller communities as well.
Yeah.
As I'm looking around at all of us talking, I've noticed a number of things. So I know Tim and Will and Alex are all round the wrong way. And I suspect I am as well. So can everybody raise their right hand? Okay, so we're all round the wrong way. So if we all go to settings, the little cog at the bottom, select video, and then we've all got mirror camera engaged. So if you turn that off, we should now be round the right way. That's
I
better.
didn't know you could control that in this app.
Yeah, obviously
Maybe you can
settings
control that in
have
Zoom.
changed, haven't they?
Why would you want it? Why would you want a mirror?
Because then it's easier for you to comb your beard and
You
stuff.
match. Well, and also, like, I teach my cardio dance class on Zoom, and so I mirror it, so it's like I'm dancing in front of a mirror, which is what you do in real life. That's another good use case.
I like that too, Ellen. So I was gonna say about the community guidelines, and when you're building a community that in some instances you want to grow, and you want to have like an ecosystem, you want it to get beyond just the guidelines. Setting the boundaries are very important.
Yeah.
And when something goes awry, you've got basically one chance to breach this boundary, and then you're done.
They're guardrails, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, they're guardrails.
And
They're
so
guardrails.
important because you just recently started a community, haven't you, Lenwood?
Yes, I have. And I'm, one of the reasons why I've been looking at these things. What are the things that I need to do? Talking to people who have built ecosystems, not just a small community, but whole ecosystems, and how you do those things, studying, what is this really about? What am I trying to do here? So it is something that you nurture. It's, ideally you start small and you really are nurturing and, watering and growing. You're on a journey. And if you started, like I've started this community for a purpose. I want to take people from one place to another place. I want them to join me, on this journey. And so I've got to really be thoughtful. It's designed, you hear a lot about design thinking.
Is this designed communities?
Yeah, communities are designed, folks.
Remember where you heard it first.
They're designed. We can take actions that will help them to grow, help people to grow. And we're going to need to do that in a big way. I don't want to go off track, but
Lenwood, what's your community called?
People Rise. Oh, thank you, Tim. People Rising, and it's today at 1 p.m.
The audience can find that on the hashtag, can't they?
Yeah, there is a hashtag. Absolutely, I have to remember to use it. But yeah, People Rising today at 1 p.m. Eastern in New York time. That's I think 6 p.m. right in the UK. Yeah. So yeah. So. Oh, the statement I was going to make about, just forgive me for this. We have a climate crisis that's happening, and it's going to get worse. And so we're going to need to know how to build ecosystems, know how to build communities very rapidly, as there are 3.4 to 3.6 billion people who are going to be impacted in an increasing way as our climate warms. Our global economy, which is still primarily fossil fuel based, we need to move away from that as quickly as possible. Okay, I'm done.
For the next episode on the digital.
Yeah. Unless we all want to burn up.
No. I mean, I think that's a really important thing to say, because obviously we're all impacted by that. But it does dovetail lovely into Rob's comment here. Should all communities be positive, or should you allow the occasional rant? Because, sometimes you go to communities, and particularly the kind of the micro business middle-aged second career, it's sickly sweet, patting each other on the back. Oh, you're looking wonderful, and this is fantastic. And actually that's great, but getting that kind of narrative going on all the time, it loses any impact, and it just becomes noise and wallpaper. So should we be allowed to have a rant, not at somebody, but at something, or at a movement, or at something which is not panning out as it should, or should we remain on our best behavior within communities?
Yes.
Yes to which of those?
Yes. What would you like?
Yes,
They're not
rant.
mutually exclusive, though.
Sorry.
They're not mutually exclusive.
No, then they're not. It shouldn't be a community entirely of rants, but it shouldn't be also a community entirely of patting each other on the back and just having a love in.
The whole human experience includes happiness and frustration and annoyance and fun and all of these things, right? So I would say it depends on, again, how you're curating the community. But if you're trying to focus on a place that is psychologically safe, that nurtures belonging, that does all these things, then part of that is recognizing that sometimes people are going to have a good day and sometimes people are going to have a bad day. And I think it's important, again, we don't have community guidelines. We have belonging agreement. And so when you join the Your Business Peeps community, this is how we treat other people. So it's not rules about like how often can you post and what can you post and those types of things. It's about, we are here to shine our light. We are here to support other people in shining their light. There isn't one right way to do things. These are the types of things we believe as a community. And you agree to those or you don't agree to those. And that's it. But then that's kind of the point, right? Like belonging, sometimes I need people to commiserate with, right? And then that may not be the whole community. It might be a smaller segment of the community. But I think it's important to realize that the whole human experience exists within a community, within a workspace, within your home, right? It's not all or nothing. And if we create spaces where like, you just have to bring your happy sunshiny self here, then you'd be like, well, I'm grumpy today because it's snowing, so I'm not going to come, right? But that doesn't mean I can't contribute in a positive way and all of these types of things. So I think it's a openness for both, but I don't think any community is like, we are here to just be positive. We are here to just rant. Although I think maybe some Facebook groups are.
So Tracy, there's a question here from, and unfortunately it says LinkedIn user. I'm going to find out from. So LinkedIn user, if you could put your name in, and I am going to find out. It's a common error with Restream. So that asks the question: how can you determine if a community is authentic? Are you saying that communities need to be authentic?
I'm saying it.
And how does that sit with a psychological safe space?
The problem is the word community in the global environment is being used very loosely, right? Yeah. And so we can say that, like, I have a Facebook community, I have a LinkedIn community, and that may not have it might not be driven by an intention of being authentic. What I say when it comes to authenticity is something you feel, right? Do you go there and you feel like people are being genuine and real? Or do you not? Do you feel like people are being fake? It's interesting in my community because my community is about practicing showing up authentically, which in essence means we assume you're probably not showing up authentically when you join because you have a desire to do that, but you don't know how. And so you're exploring that. But this is, to me, and I would love to hear what the other panelists think, but to me, authenticity is something you feel. This feels true or this doesn't feel true. And there's people who join the Flat Earth Society because they feel that that is true, right? And that's authentic for them.
But that's something, yeah, but that's something that we do need to explore. So we've got another, Ellen that said, occasional rant needs guardrails. And whilst I kind of agree with that, so let's take what Lenwood said earlier. He said that we are in the midst of a climate crisis and we need to do something about this and we need to act quickly. And one of the routes out of this is that we need to be able to form communities and ecosystems quickly and efficiently in order to deal with these challenges. So 99.1% whatever percent of scientists in the world agree that there is a climate crisis, a climate emergency going on, and we need to act immediately. There are loads of people, however, when you go to various Facebook groups, there are loads of people that say, yeah, well, the world's just going through one of those warmer phases at the moment, and it's nothing to worry about, and things will sort of... So there are two types of thing, aren't there? There's the kind of, I'm entitled to an opinion which is different from yours, as long as it's not factually incorrect. So you think green is the best color. I think yellow is the best color. Well, we're going to agree to disagree on that, because clearly yellow is a better color. I think 2 + 2 is 5. You think 2 + 2 is 4. Well, we're going to have to agree to disagree. No, we're not going to have to agree to disagree, because I'm an idiot and you're not, because I'm wrong.
Jensen's got a point.
Yeah, no, I was just to add to that. I think it's actually quite important for people to disagree within communities, as then everyone has a different view of different things happening, and I may not understand a certain thing a way that you may, Adam. So I may need us to have not a rant or a disagreement, but I may need us to have a conversation to understand that point from your view. And not just that. I mean, I think back to yours and Lenwood's point about the global crisis, I think as well, it's with that, there's a large number of people that may, like you were saying, Adam, saying, oh, well, maybe it's just getting warmer. And I think that has an impact purely because if you have other people that don't believe it or aren't following, such as these big companies that say, yeah, there's a massive global crisis problem, but we're going to still use all of our food trucks and use all this petrol and use all these planes and fly everywhere. But yeah, there is a global climate crisis. You have some people sitting there going, well, do you really care about it? And does me driving my one car have an impact on it if you're sending 30,000 planes out in every 2 months? So I think there has to be discussions.
There has to be discussions, because I think a community without discussion or with one fixed mindset, they're what's generally known as echo chambers.
Because I think that's what my community is at the moment.
Anything there? So, I mean, I'm playing around and I haven't yet come up, but I think there's almost like a typical kind of consultant's 2x2 matrix here, which is on one axis, I'm very clear about non-participative and participative in terms of people in the community, and then the community itself, I'm not sure on the y-axis whether you'd have open and fixed or something like that, because I think there's room for all of those things. I do think that you can be in a community even if you're non-participative, if you're on the edge. Actually, it's not where you or the community are going to get the biggest benefits, but there is a space there for that type of thing. But I think, obviously where you want to be is to be in a very open community and to be participative in that.
Did you see Richard Urich's post this morning about when you go in to be interviewed by a member of the media?
Yes.
Whether or not you're likely to get an easy ride or a tough ride. Yeah. And actually that translates, that 2x2 matrix that he had translates very well to exactly what you're saying here, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About whether or not what you're saying is contentious or not, and whether what you're saying is an opinion or a fact. And actually those are some of the things that operate and drive how people engage, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think there's also people, I would say, join a community for one of two reasons. One, because they're trying to accomplish something, and that's what we're doing in this community. Or two, that these people believe the same things that I do, right? And I believe in the climate crisis, right? I believe the earth is round. And there are people...
But by round, do you mean a disc or do you mean spherical?
I mean spherical. And that even my 5-year-old knows that one of the concepts of creating a planet is that it has enough gravity to make itself round. Anyways, but I think there is something to be said, because we're talking about communities, that people join communities because they feel like these people have the same thoughts, feelings, opinions as me. And so there's probably different types of communities. And I'm, a fan of the ones that are growth-minded and have conversation and all of these types of things. But there are also people who I feel so unsafe in their surroundings that they join a place, like a church or a club or something that makes them feel like all of these people believe the same things as me and therefore I'm safe. And this is I think it's an interesting component of communities. Like there's inherent safety, but I would actually challenge that if you feel like you actually belong in a place, that there's like safety enough for you to disagree and ask questions and have those types of conversations. So
that echo
maybe it's
chamber
like a
comment.
stages of community.
I mean, I think
Colin's point there is lovely.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. There needs to be that degree of tension, doesn't there? There needs to be the fact that we are facing roughly in the same direction, because it doesn't want to become a punch up. However, we're not entirely aligned. We have a different view and a different perspective on things, and sharing that is important.
We know where we're going, but not quite how we're going to get there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's that's it. We've got these complex challenges. They're there, and we've got to navigate. We don't know the answers to the problems, so we're experimenting, we're testing, we're trying to figure out what works. When we find something that works, we want to push resources to that thing so that we can grow and scale it. This is ecosystem building. This is how you do it. Oh, we're looking at this
Dramatic pause.
Yeah, we're looking right over here at this.
That's a long comment.
It is a long comment.
So Tracy, I got a question for you. Because I know someone that basically creates. They get paid by corporations to create LinkedIn groups, and of course they have pressure from the corporation that it needs to be 20,000 people. And one of the reasons for that is that they only get a 1% participation rate.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm involved with a LinkedIn group on Facebook. Sorry, a Facebook group on Facebook, which on my suggestion we've actually topped out the membership to 1,000 people, because we actually think that it's going to be better and have more quality than quantity. Where do you fit in terms of the quality and quantity and in terms of?
I think if the goal is quantity, then like that's your intention. Your intention is just to have a big community. And
yeah. But is it? But then is that a community? It's an audience.
Right. And it's, again, to me, communities are about people and people connecting, right? So if you have a community that's 20,000 people, I don't know about you, but like I can't connect with 20,000 people in a meaningful way. Right. And so is your community meant to create connections in a meaningful way, or is it meant to create an audience? And let's just be honest about what it is, right? I'm not saying in marketing we don't need an audience, right? And some people love to perform. This is like when you look at influencers and stuff, right? Like these guys are entertainers. They're performing. That's okay. People love to be entertained. Right? That's why professional sports exists and the movie industry exists and all of these things exist. It's not bad, but we just need to call it what it is, right? And be honest with ourselves. Like, we're building an audience. An audience is about a one-way communication. I want them to consume what I'm having. A community is about us interacting with each other. And I can only interact with so many people. So are you creating an audience or are you creating a community? Just be honest.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
So 2 minutes too, Adam.
Well, I was thinking that seems like a suitable place to draw it to an end, doesn't it? We've reached a hiatus in the debate, and we'll go off again and be on for another hour if we're not careful. I think it is a fascinating topic to have debated and talked about, and some really insightful and interesting comments from the people in the audience, as they always are. So next week is a special show, isn't it? Next week is our anniversary. Is it our second anniversary next week, or third anniversary?
It's the third year, isn't it?
Third year of having done
So it's our third birthday, isn't it? Because it's the third year.
As the digital download, the longest running weekly live stream on LinkedIn, business LinkedIn live stream.
Where is Rob?
Yeah, where is Rob when you need him?
He's in Miami.
Yes, absolutely.
Sure it's not snowing in Miami.
Cheers.
Thank you very much, Michael. It is a fascinating debate, and I'm sure one that we'll pick up again in the future, because it seems that building communities is one of the frontiers that everybody needs to do. You know, with 900 million people on LinkedIn, and we're talking about LinkedIn communities primarily because that's the platform we're on here. With 900 million people, you can't engage with all of them. So actually finding like-minded people or people that are looking to solve the same challenges that you're looking to solve is, I think, a crucial way forward, you know, coming together in these groups. So thank you. That's a very good question. That is a very good question, and one that we will have to address before
Yes.
Next Friday.
I'm just about to put it in Slack, Andrew.
Yes. So thank you all on the panel very much indeed. Thank you all in the audience very much indeed. Fantastic input from all of you. And we hope to see you all next week when we're having our birthday. So have a great weekend, everybody.